this video is about monolithic kernel. So before getting into the topic, we'll just have an outlook about what is kernel space and user space. So what is kernel? Kernel is nothing but a system program, and it is the core part of operating system. It handles I/O requests by translating the I/O request from software to CPU for processing, and it handles memories and peripheral devices also. Peripheral devices in the sense keyboard, monitors and all that. And system memory can be divided into two parts as kernel space and user space. Kernel space is the memory space in which kernel executes all the processes like handling interrupts and all that. And whereas user space, user process is the user space. User space is the memory space where all the user processes run. So the user space can access the kernel space using system calls. For example, if date command is given by the user, then it will be converted into a system call and will be sent to the OS, and then the OS will convert the system call into a hardware understanding format like ones and zeros, and then send it to the hardware, and then the hardware responses it back. So this is about kernel space and user space. Now let's discuss about types of kernels. So based on the kernel architecture, there are different types of kernels. First is monolithic kernel, and the second is microkernel, and the third one is hybrid kernel, and fourth will be exokernel. We'll be discussing about monolithic kernel now. So what is monolithic kernel? Monolithic kernel is the traditional kernel which is used especially by Unix-like operating systems. One of the best example of OS which uses monolithic kernel architecture is Linux, and some of the other will be OpenVMS and BSD. Monolithic. Now we can just have a better knowledge on monolithic. Monolithic literally means one big stone. So it's the literal meaning actually, and like the name, monolithic is a single program that could perform all the kernel related tasks. In the sense, entire OS services runs in the kernel space. In the kernel space. So when we say as OS services, it includes memory management, process management, resources, input output allocations and all. So these OS services run along with kernel thread in the same memory space. So some of the advantages of using monolithic kernel architecture are the hardware access will be very easy. Hardware access is easy. And it have full privilege to access all the devices like input output devices, memory, hardware, interrupts. Memory, hardware, interrupts, etc. And some of the disadvantages of using monolithic kernel are as it is one piece of code, so maintenance is somewhat difficult. Maintenance is difficult. Because if we want to do some modifications in the kernel code, or if we want to fix some bugs, then it will be very much difficult as the code will be very big. So modifications and fixing bugs will be difficult. For example, let's take device drivers. If device drivers, that is DD in the sense device drivers, if there is any single problem in the device driver, then it would actually crash the entire system. So if there is a situation of recompilation of the kernel code, it can lead to OS upgrade. So OS upgrade, which is very costly, and many users will not prefer such things. So that many modern OSs will not prefer monolithic. Instead, they prefer microkernel architecture. Finally, let's just take a look on the architecture of monolithic kernel. So this architecture can give the exact difference between monolithic kernel based OS and microlithic kernel based OS. Here you can see the application. From the application, the system calls will be transferred to the kernel mode, and the operations will takes place. And most of the OS operations takes place in the kernel mode itself, like scheduler, virtual memory, device drivers, dispatchers, etc. Whereas in microkernel based OS, the Unix servers, device drivers, file system, these operations takes place in the user mode itself. Some of the less operations only takes place in kernel mode. So that's it about monolithic kernel based operating system. Thank you.